Hello all and welcome to this video on 5 ways to get more private function event bookings for your venue. So in this video I'm going to be diving into my computer and I'm going to be running through 5 different ways that you can get more private event bookings for your venue. Bear in mind there's one of these methods which I actually haven't used personally and I'll let you know which one that is, but we have heard good things. And I will explain that when we get to it. The other 4 methods that we've got here, we have used to book numerous amounts of private event bookings, and one of them we are focused on mostly at the moment, and I'll explain to you what that is and sort of where you can go if you want to learn more about that. So let's dive into it. First of all, I want to start with cold email for corporates. So typically with cold email, most people are going after industries. So like we use cold email to get clients on board for us. And so we're going after, venues that host more events or venues that have capacity to host more events, which are usually like breweries, etc. So when we craft our cold email, we're going to go after that avatar of people that own breweries. But if you are a venue yourself, you're going after, let's say, local businesses. There's nothing really that makes all the owners of these local businesses or the receptionist or whomever you're going after of these local businesses the same, aside from that local area. So what you want to do is you want to lean into the fact that you're another local business to build reciprocity in order to generate replies. Because with cold email, if you get a cold email from the venue around the corner that you know, and you've probably been there before, you're far more likely to reply positively. You're not going to be rude. You're not going to tell them to piss off. So lean into that angle. And the way that we do it is we'd say, hey, look, we're from the Long Room just off Ponsonby Road, so not too far from you. And so you're going to feel more obligated to reply to that email. And that is how you essentially build reciprocity. And so the person that you're emailing feels some sort of obligation to reply. So what we've found is cold email does work really well for corporates. However, the problem with most venues doing it is just the volume. So we've found that you need at least 1,000 emails a month to be going out to local businesses, which is quite a lot and quite a lot of work. But this is the method that we've been focusing on recently, and one that we've seen lots and lots of success with, and it's definitely one that we recommend that you guys have a play with. So if you're a venue and you're trying to figure out how to get more corporates, if corporates is something you want to focus on, then I would recommend having a go at cold email. And cold email has been around for decades now, and it still works very well if it's done in the right way, if it's tasteful. Like, do not spam people. It does not work in this context, because you're going to run out of leads very, very quickly, and they know who you are. So you don't want to be burning that goodwill or be casting any sort of chinks in your brand out into the local marketplace by sending out unsolicited emails. Okay, so it has to be done in a certain way. If you do want to learn more about this, you can book in a call below, but again, this is for venues only, and you definitely do not have to. Like, you can get plenty of information out of these videos for free, so don't feel like you have to do that. The reason why people want to go after corporates is because they often have the advantage of booking on weekdays, right? So we work with venues helping them book more private events in general, but recently we've been focusing mostly just on the corporate side of this, because most venues that are good venues, e.g. they've already got goodwill in their marketplace, they've got positive word of mouth, they're already established, they're pretty booked on their Fridays and Saturdays into the foreseeable for months. Unless they're one of those venues which is very large and has, the patio for 200 guests, and then they've got a few different private rooms that can each have 60 guests each. So if that's the case, then I would recommend one of these other strategies for getting more family style events. But we've been focusing on that, the corporate market, so they book out the weekdays, when it's typically quiet, and we've found cold email is a very good way of doing this. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is cold calling. And this is the one which we've heard good things, but we haven't done ourselves. So I'm going to talk on it briefly. If this is something that you want to learn more about, let me know below and I can do a deeper dive and sort of break it down in more depth. But I don't want to essentially say, hey, I know everything I'm talking about when it comes to cold calling, because I haven't done it. But from what I know, what people do is they will cold call other local businesses and invite them in for a beer, essentially. And this is great. And why we've had so much success with this is because typically, if you've done any cold calling or you've looked into cold calling before, the game is to get to the owner, right? And so let's say you're cold calling a dentist because you want to sell them services. You'll get the receptionist and you'll have to somehow get to the owner, who's the decision maker. But when you're cold calling for corporate events, often it's the receptionist or the office manager who's the one that's put in charge of organizing these events. So you don't have that massive barrier, which is, how do I get past this gatekeeper, right? So that's why cold calling works so well for corporates. And in all honesty, if you said to me, hey, I need more corporate events now, what would you do? I'd probably say just cold call. Just call 200 local businesses and invite them in for a drink. And then when they come in for a drink, have a chat about corporate events and what you can do for them. Simple as that. It's probably a lot more complex than that, but again, I haven't done it, so I'm not going to say that there's all these other things that you need to keep in mind. But I would say I've heard really good things about cold calling for corporates. The next thing that I would want to talk about is Facebook and Instagram ads for family style events. So traditionally we were a Facebook ad agency. We started 7 odd years ago, and what was so good about running Facebook and Instagram ads for local businesses, meaning businesses that service other people in a local market, is that you could just geographically target people within a 5k radius and be pretty sure that your targeting was pretty good, because you're only going to really service people who live locally. For most hospitality venues and most dry cleaners and most dentists, you're pretty much just servicing a local market. So if you're looking for more family style events, which is sort of mass market, 30ths, 21sts, 50ths, weddings, this sort of thing, we would just recommend you can run Facebook and Instagram ads, and we also run them to a messenger bot that we act as sort of like a form. And the reason why we do this is just because if someone gets halfway through answering questions like when's your event, your email, phone number, this sort of thing, if they get halfway through and leave, you can come back and follow up with them. You can't do that if you've sent them to a form. So Facebook and Instagram ads for family style events is something that we would definitely recommend. The fourth way that you can do this is through database working / email lists for family style events. So most venues have a database of some sort, and most venues do not use that database at all. So what we mean by a database is a list of, all you really need is first name and email address, or first name, email address and phone number. And we would recommend you do two things. Firstly, we'd recommend you build a drip campaign, drip sequence, however you want to call it, so that when someone subscribes to your database, they get sent a series of emails over a series of weeks. And if you've most people in the space will be like, send them 100 emails over 100 days, which is probably overkill in this case. I would recommend if you can send them 10 emails over 12 weeks, that's better than nothing, and you can, do 10 emails in a morning, and there's your marketing done for a large period or a large portion of your email, outreach work. Because everyone that subscribes to your database will get the same 10 emails over the same sort of time period. So that's one thing. We've put out an email drip campaign, and this can be done in ManyChat if you're using ManyChat, which we do for the venues that we would work with, or you can integrate it into something like MailChimp, which lots of companies are familiar with. And you can do it sort of all email marketing softwares that you use will have some sort of drip campaign feature that you can use. The second thing we would recommend is building your database and then emailing them periodically when you're looking for more bookings. So a few examples could be Christmas functions. You might email someone September, October, saying, hey, we've got a few weekends left or a few days left for Christmas functions. Let me know if you're interested and I can give you a call and run you through our options. Or if you're quiet in winter, you can just say, hey, we've got some midwinter promotions running at the moment. We're doing free venue hire for the next couple of months. If you want to have a quick chat about any event you're planning, let me know and I can give you a call. This sort of thing. I've put here, show Canva. Okay, so something that I did want to run through and explain is this is a presentation that I did a little while ago. Let's start from here. And the point of this presentation was to show you how you can use lead generation advertising, such as Facebook and Instagram ads, in combination with email marketing and a drip campaign, as well as broadcasts, to increase the value of each lead. So I'll run through this quick presentation and hopefully it will convey my point. So let's say you've got a lead on the left hand side, and this is what we call a close, and let's say for you a close is worth $1,000. And let's just say, for argument's sake, a close is worth $1,000 profit, okay? Let's say that 10% of your leads close. This means that leads are worth $100 to you, right? Because if you have 10 leads, one of them will close, and hence leads are worth $100, okay? Now, let's say you have a different sort of lead that we call an email subscriber. And again, a close is worth $1,000. But as you can imagine, an email subscriber is far less likely to close than a lead in this case. Let's say 1% of your email subscribers per year close, which means that your email subscribers are worth $10 to you each, okay? Because you need 100 of them to make that $1,000 close, okay? So what I'm suggesting here is that if for every lead that comes into the business, you also turn them into an email subscriber, right? So they're both now a lead and an email subscriber because you've subscribed them to your email list and all the promotion that you have there, then your leads are now worth 10% more, right? They're now worth $110 because they could close on the front end and they could also close on the back end. So another way of looking at this is that you've increased their likelihood of closing by 10%. You've taken them from a 10% chance of closing to an 11% chance of closing because there's an additional 1% chance of closing on the back end, okay? So that's just a little example that helps to show why we would recommend doing some sort of database working as well as through email drip campaigns and email blasts or email promotions through winter or Christmas, this sort of thing. So how they sort of tie together. The last and arguably most important point is take a remarkable action. So as you probably know, especially if you're a venue owner, the actual way to win is to be good at delivering private events because that will generate you positive word of mouth. And if you have an abundance of positive word of mouth, you're typically going to eventually generate way more leads than you can service, okay? You generate positive word of mouth by over-delivering, meaning that what they expected to get and what they got were different, and there was a gap, a positive gap between what they got versus what they expected. The wider this gap is, the more positive word of mouth you generate. Now, often when it comes to service delivery, again, I've never run a venue, but we have worked with lots of venues and helped them tidy up their delivery. This can be quite a big task and it can fall into lots of different buckets and there's heaps of things that you can touch on. But one thing that you can do to just add some additional distance between what they expect and what you deliver is you can take a remarkable action. And what I mean by a remarkable action is something above and beyond that you do for every function that you don't tell them about that's going to generate positive word of mouth. And I have put together some remarkable action ideas that we have given to venues in the past. So I'll run through a few of them, just a few of my favorite ones. Probably the Polaroid camera. So this works really well for like 21st and younger people's events, but all sorts of events really. So you use a Polaroid camera and take images of the event. So let's say it's a 21st. One of your staff members might have a Polaroid camera, take images of that 21st, especially of the person whose event it is, and then you put those images in a card and send it to them the next week and say, thank you for having your event with us. Here's some images that you can, keep, da 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 da. And it's something they weren't expecting, and it's also really nice to have physical images of their event. So this is something that you can just do. So you're like, every event we do this. We've got a Polaroid camera. It costs $40, $50, sometimes more. And then, $15 per event for film, but that generates you positive word of mouth, and it's something that they can share around. An easy one would be flowers or cupcakes. So, if it's a wedding or if it's a special birthday, let's say it's someone's 50th, and you know their address, and you know that their birthday is actually 2 weeks after their event or 2 weeks before their event. You can send them flowers or cupcakes or a bottle of wine or champagne on their actual birthday and say, hey, thank you for having your event with us a few weeks ago. I know today is your actual birthday. Just wanted to say thank you. Here's some flowers, cupcakes, this sort of thing. The easiest is probably a handwritten card, and this is pretty classic. You just write them a card that is not computer generated, which you actually take the time and effort to do, and send it to them. And people really, really do appreciate this sort of stuff. And it goes very far in putting that gap between what they expect to get and what they actually got. So hopefully this video provided some helpful insight into 5 different ways you can get more private event bookings for your venue. Again, cold email outreach, especially for corporates, cold calling other local businesses for corporates, Facebook and Instagram ads for family style events, database working, email lists for family style events, and lastly, taking one remarkable action to separate what they expected to get and what they actually got for their event. So I really do hope this helped. If you have questions, please leave them below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.